Welcome to the Nativot Shalom Shir. We'll talk about a little bit of Parsha Vayigash. And Parsha Vayigash uh, teaches us a very important lesson about how we should approach prayer and what the two major components are that we need for prayer. Now, the Parsha begins after the end of last week's Parsha, where you remember the brothers were traveling back, and all of a sudden they were searched and their bags were searched, and the silver goblet belonging to the assistant to the Paro, to Yosef, was found in the bag of Benyamin. And uh, you know, before that happened, all the brothers said, "There's no way, we didn't take any of that." And anybody who took it, they just made this statement. They said, "We are servant forever." That not in any way thinking that their youngest brother, Benyamin, had it in his bag, was planted there. So this week's parsha opens up with Yehuda, one of the brothers, uh, going to uh, Yosef and pleading with him. And the Torah opens with the words Vayigash Elav Yehuda. And Yehuda went up to him, Vayomer, he says, Bi Adoni, please, my Lord, Yidaberna Avdecha Devorai Ba'aznai. Let me speak into your ear. So before she would say that that whole thing is really not a reference to Yehuda speaking to Yosef, but rather Vayigash means he's approaching God and asking God to intervene. So that's where uh, the Nativot Shalom uh, begins. So let's look at this, and I've marked out because it's a very long Nativot Shalom. It's 4 pages, which of course you're welcome to study on your own, but I'm not gonna go through all of it. I'll go where I have the green marks. And this, by the way, is the second part of uh, one that I think we studied in 2017. And this part is from 2018, and we're on the following in the Sefer, in the book of Bereshit. It's Reish Pei, 280. Starts at the bait in the middle of the page. So Tivot Shalom says, Al Yesod Omar, She'ini Vayigash Elav Yehuda Merumaz Al Hageshesh Litfila, where we say that these words, Vayigash Elav Yehuda, when Yehuda went to him, it's a reference to not speaking to Yosef, but to speaking to Hashem in Tefillah. Here in Parsha Zu, in this Parsha, HaTorah Kodesh Melamedes as Godol Koach HaTefillah. Torah teaches us the strong power of prayer. We sometimes, you know, we don't give enough credit to what prayer can do. We just finished Hanukkah. I hope everybody had a wonderful Hanukkah, but they were saying that the prayers that you uttered on Hanukkah will be answered. Uh, but prayers are just such an important thing. So the power of prayer says, "Shebechol matzav shehu," any situation that you happen to be in, Sharei tefillah lo nenalu, the gates of prayer are never closed before you. Ba'adash shemeforish shebesifrei HaKodesh Numei Elimelech, b'Parsha Vayigash b'Pasuk Vayigash Yehuda, where Noach HaMelech talks about in this very sentence. He says, the ilu hu lashon, the elav hu lashon nistar, shekoi alokel mistatir. So this is a kind of a hidden language, but really refers to the hiddenness of God. V'hainu Torah mora es haderech liyehudi. The Torah is teaching a way to a Jew. Eich yishyatsev b'tefillah lifnei Hashem Yisborach, how to stand in prayer before God. B'yosef matzav shel hester b'gabrut hadinim. And in a situation where it seems like God is hiding himself from us, and the judgments, the decrees that we're suffering with are so great. Ukadugmas matsevam shal shvatim. And the example is the condition that the tribes were in, meaning the other 10 sons. They were in very great difficulty at that point. I mean, Yehuda had guaranteed his life in this world and the world to come to protect Benyamin, to make sure that it brings Benyamin back. And now they're in a situation where they not only know how to get Benjamin back, but they're all saying, "Take us all as slaves, let him go." So they're in a very difficult situation. And it appeared to them that there's no way, according to the laws of nature, for them to get out of this. When the Kosuv Besof HaParsha Kademus, as it said at the end of the previous Parsha, Yom Yehuda said, "Ma nomer ladoni." What can I say to my master, my father? Ma daber, ma nistadik. What can I say? How can I make myself righteous? Hini avadim ladoni. I'm going to be a slave to this assistant to Paro, Yosef, who they didn't know was Yosef. He says, "Shehem sug dibureim shayush." These are words. His words of, what am I going to say? These are words exemplifying giving up, yiyush, uh, losing all hope. Shoyu aleim isgabrut hadinim meruba biyoter, the decrees, the punishment, the judgment, the situation they were in was so difficult. Ad shenid mohaya, that it seemed to them ki avudim hemon olam hazem olam ba. It seems to them they were lost from this world and from the next world. Kamo shomer Yehuda, as Yehuda said, Ki avdecha arev es hanar. He said to Yaakov, he said, I will be the guarantor for this young man, Benyamin. Mim avi lemor im lo avienu alecha v'chatasi la'avi kol yamim. If I don't bring him back to you, my sin will be to you all my days. She'ein zeh rak b'olam hazeh el af b'olam haba. He's saying this not only that it applies to this world, but also to the world to come. Choloshon Harashi, and Rashi says, "Vani niskasharti b'kesher chazak liot menuda b'shtei olamot." I am binding myself with this statement to remove myself from both worlds, this world and the world to come, if I don't bring him back. At this point, they saw no way of how they could get out of this situation. The Torah teaches us Shagam Kasher Dinim Shorim Bakol Satum, at a time when it looks like the suffering that you're going through, the judgments that you're going through, the punishments that you're going through have no end, and there's no way, and everything is closed. Any possible way out of these situations, out of these difficulties, is closed to you. So they koach hatfila, yachol lahamti kadidim, through the power of prayer, you can sweeten these judgments, make them not as severe. Kisharei tefillah lo ninalu. the gates of tefillah, the gates of prayer are never locked. Sharei zeh eino la'olam, never ever are they locked. V'chol eis tzara u'matsuka, and in any time of difficulty, Yikach Yehudi es atzmo letfila, a Jew should take him or herself to prayer, v'yikayim, and he'll fulfill shivchei kamayim libeich, my heart is flowing like water, nochach b'nei Hashem, before God, muvtach lo, and he's assured, shakadosh baruch hu yishma shavasar. When you're screaming out to God, you can be assured that God will hear your prayer, will hear your screams. And he goes on in the next paragraph where I marked it with the green. Hainu k'sheyehudi nigash litfila. When a Jew goes to pray, tzorich lahamin, he has to believe. Sheyesh bekirbo, that in the midst of him is chelek Hashem mimal, is that there's a portion of godliness in him. A portion of God is within him. One of the Omers, it says, Ki chelek Hashem mimo, amo, a part of God is my people, Israel. She said, Kolach elyon sheish lihuda l'netzayach. This is the superpower that is given to a Jew to be victorious. Shafilush b'matzavim hagruim biyoter. Even in the most difficult times, hu kosher l'Hashem yisborach, you can connect yourself to God, v'chelek Hashem amo, and you'll see that because God is within you. You're a portion of God. You're created with the divine spirit. And he goes on, mikoach zeh, yidaber na avdecha davar be'oznei Adoni. With this power that a Jew has, he's approaching, he says, I want to speak into your ears, my master. Yocho Yehudi la'amod betfila, b'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chol eis v'chol matzav. With this power, a Jew is able to stand before God at any time, before God with tefillah, with prayer, at any time and under any circumstances. I'm going to the next page, and the next green mark says, Valdas zeh, yesh levar gam omru Adoni shal es avodav. We can explain what it says. My master asked his servants, Leimor hayesh lechem av oach. Remember, Yosef asked them when he's making believe he doesn't know who the brothers are. He knows who they are. And he says to them, do you have a father or a brother? Shenyanu kamar aldas mama harab HaKadosh Rabbi Melech Susalenu. Sheish bechinas shal avicha. This is the aspect of ask your father. Shagam im ein achozim madrega zu dite la kabbalah b'derech she'ela. Even if they're not on this level, the level of knowing who their father is, being able to answer it, the question alone gives them the ability to answer it. Even if a Jew doesn't feel the presence of his father in heaven, but if he knows, okay, I don't feel it right now, but I know that God is here, that there's a God. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Aviv, Harachma, if he knows that God is his merciful Father, V'shomea es tfilaso, and listens to his prayers, V'bchinas yidaber na avdecha davar ba'oznei Adoni, and the words hinted at, the words of Yehuda to Yosef, hinting at the words to God, I want to speak in your ears, I want to tell you something. Umami, if he believes, im yamod yamol v'yityaga al kach yasik zotiv sof. He believes that doesn't right now have the amuna to believe that everything will happen, if he at least believes that by doing this, by the end he'll have this amuna. Hari Mishaelim lo b'china zu. With this aspect, shekvar me'ata yesh lo es hadraga shel avicha. He hasn't yet reached the total moon about my Father in heaven, but yet he's on that level of getting to understand that there's a Father. Even if he isn't yet holding on to that thought, strongly believing it. That's what it means when Yosef asks, do you have a father or a brother? Kasher Yehudi Nema Litfila. When a Jew stands in prayer before God, he needs two things. These are the two ingredients that every Jew needs when he's standing before God in prayer. Shetiyalo Hargeshet Av. He has to have a feeling of God as the Father. Shiargish ki hu medaber el aviv harachman. He should feel that he's speaking before the merciful Father. Vashomea oto b'chol matzavim. Afil hagurim bioter, who will listen to him no matter what situation he's in, even in the worst situation. As we saw in Egypt. In Mitzrayim, the Jews had fallen to the lowest level of the 50 levels of uncleanliness. They were at the 49th level. God heard their cries. Shitomid imo nochi b'tzor. God is always with us in our difficulties. K'mad ki yadati es machosav. It says, I know your sufferings. V'chein tzorech l'vchinas ach. In addition to recognizing that we're praying to our Father in heaven, we have to recognize the aspect of brotherhood, the aspect of brother. Remember Arizal said, Shekodem hatfila, before prayer, Tzorech Yehudi lekabel al atzmo, a Jew must accept upon himself mitzvah v'yahavtel reyacha kamocha, the commandment of loving your neighbor as yourself. La ohev kol Yehudi kamo, to love every Jew as himself. And in fact, in the morning before we start davening, we actually say, it's right in the siddur. It says right here, Hareini makabel atzmi, I accept upon myself mitzvah asay shel v'yahavtel harecha kamocha, this commandment of loving my fellow as myself. You need that as a prerequisite to tefillah. The two things he's saying here, you need to recognize that you're praying to your merciful Father, and that you're not praying just for yourself, but you're praying on behalf of all Klal Yisrael, everybody else, and all of the brotherhood of the Jewish people. Uma yasa Yehudi, kasher who never leaves palav eno margi b'zeh. What does a Jew do if he's ready to daven? He doesn't feel this. Alzeh namar. Therefore, it says Adoni sha'al es avada lemor. Or it says, my master asked his servant, saying, Hayesh lachem av o ach. Do you have a father or a brother? Shafilu im enu oches bezeh. Enu margesh bechinas elu. Even if you're not yet grabbed hold of this concept and you don't really feel this. Hare kasher hu mamin bezeh. If you believe, Shakadosh Baruch Hu Ha'av, that God is the Father, is our merciful Father in heaven. V'Yisrael Haim Echad, and the children of Israel are brothers to each of us, brothers and sisters. V'Amol Lahasig Hargeshes Elu, and you work to reach this level. Haril Makabel Zos Mina Shemayim B'She'ela. Through this question, your doubt, even though you may have a doubt, you're not 100% there yet, God will accept your tefillot. As it says, somebody wants to become pure, wants to improve themselves. You can't do it all by your own power. So it says, the Gemara tells us, Habal Latayr Messiah. If you're trying to improve yourself, you're trying to reach a level of Tahara, God will help you. And because God will help you, you will feel that from this moment, you now have reached this level. Then it goes on, moving down the page. Od Yesh Lamer can also be said, Vayomer Bi Adoni, please, my master. Murumas Bezeh Haderach. This teaches the way Shehudi Yochel Lishpoch Sicho, where how a Jew can pour out his speech, Ulavakesh Mishelos Libo, and ask the desires of his heart, Lefnei Hashem, before God, Olamtik es kol adinim, Hashorim alav, Bagash Misuruchos, and by pouring out your heart to God, you will sweeten every judgment, every bad judgment, both on a material level and on a spiritual level. Adas Isa Bodom Elimelech, as Noam Elimelech said, I'll be Adoni, please, my master. Shehudi tzorich ladas ulahamin. A Jew must know and believe. Shekol ma she'akadosh baruch hu mitnah yimo hakol latova. A Jew must always believe that whatever situation he's in, whatever God has done, it's all for good. It's all for his good. Lefi she'akadosh baruch hu hatov umiderach hatov lahiti. Because God is good. And the manner of good is to continue good. Umyuchad Yehudi, and specifically to a Jew, Asher Ahavti Eschem Amar Hashem. God said, I love you. We have it, right before the Shema. Habuch Bam Yisrael B'Yahava. God chose the children of Israel with love. V'habarabba of Tanu Hashem, also another one, Habarabba, with great love as God loved you. Hamila Gadola Vitera Hamila Hemla Talenu. The great mercy upon us is shown by that love. Valkein Sorach Yehudi Lahamin, the Jew must believe. Shekol Mash Osim Al Kadosh Baruch Hu Harizeh Latova, that everything that God does to a Jew, that is for his good. And we're dropping down here a little bit. It says, Mumar Bar Admor Beis Avram Zeshleiner. The Beis Avram says as follows: Sha'al Yehudi Lisbonein Bitoch Hagvurot Badinim Hashorim Olav. A Jew must believe out of the depths of all of the decrees, all the bad things that are happening to him. V'limtzo behem, and he should find in them as tzad hachesed harachamim, a point, a piece, a part that is true mercy and kindness, some of which we may not be able to recognize until much later, maybe not even in this world. But to have that concept that everything that God does, no matter how painful it appears, is for our good. Shegam b'toch hanhaga shel hadinim tamud chesed rachmim. Have to believe that in the midst of all of these harsh judgments that we may be going through, there is hidden chesed, kindness, rachmim, and mercy. And through this mamtikas dinim, by having that belief, you will sweeten the judgments, you will sweeten the decrees, you'll make them softer, you make them more possible to get through them. V'zeu bi Adoni, that's what it means, bi Adoni, please my master. Shehu Magala, it reveals, Shebechol Hanhagas Hashem Yisborach, that all of the ways of God, Imo B'toch Kol Adinim Hashorim Alav, and with all the bad things that seem to be happening, all the judgments that seem to be surrounding you, Talmud Bahem, hidden within them, is Kimash Shetov B'Chesed Avurei, only that which is good and kind for myself. Now going over to the next paragraph. This is what the Torah teaches us in this parsha. A Jew must believe in the power of prayer under all circumstances. Shafil b'matzavim hagruim biyoter, even those things that look like there's no hope, you've sunk as far as you can, you're chas v'shalom completely enveloped by your troubles. Yesh b'Yehuda chelek Hashem imal. We have to remember that we are a part of God from above. Shakadosh Baruch Hu nimtzo imo tamid, that God is always found with us. And then he goes on to say, V'zu haderech gam inyanei tefillah. This is the way of prayer. Kasher Yehudi omed lispala, when a Jew gets up to daven, to pray, Reishis halav, the first thing he has to do is l'kaim vigash, he has to come close. What does that mean? Shiakariv levavo l'Hashem Yisborach, he should bring his heart close to God. Kodem shu matchil lispalel, before he davens, before you pray. Some people think you just jump into the shul, jump into the synagogue, and start praying. No preparation for that. I used to be a trial lawyer. I didn't just walk into court and just at that point start figuring out what I'm going to do, start preparing at that point. No, I did it beforehand. No different when you're davening, when you're praying to God. Shiyakariv levavo l'Hashem Yisborach, you should bring your heart close to God. Kodem shu matchil power, before you pray, before you begin to pray, levakesh al tzorchav, and ask for your needs before you even begin formal prayer. But Hasidim Harishonim, the earliest pious ones, Hayushohin Achas, they used to wait an hour, spend an hour, Umispalim, and they would pray Kadeshi Kavanu Es Libam Lavim Shemishmaim, so that when they're actually in formal prayer, their heart would be towards their Father in heaven. Perish Mahaya Osam B'Shadzu, what did they do in this hour? Mispalim Shikavanu Es Libam Lavim Shemishmaim. They prayed that God should give them the ability to have the intent of their prayers to be to their Father in heaven. I knew Shitfila Sam Haishishiholi Lakarev Libabam Lagish Lefnei Hashem Yisborach Sh'oz Yechol Levakish B'Tfila. They wanted God to prepare them such to be able to properly ask their needs in prayer. Hareshis Bachana L'Tfila, the beginning and the preparation for prayer. Ushiyehudi Yargish Kibi Adoni. The Jew must believe that, please God, I'm not far from you. I'm not far from God. And this preparation will open up all the gates. To be able to fulfill. Yad berna avdecha, speak to me, my servant. Davar ba'aznei Adoni, words in my ears. the ears of God, the ears of God. And that's the end of the that portion of the Netivot Shalom. It gives you some good messages as to how to come before God in prayer. And the two key things that I think one can get out of this is the two things that the Netivot Shalom said earlier, that the two prerequisites for prayer are one, that you know you're praying to your Father in heaven who is merciful and who listens to your tefillah. And the second is to know that you have a brother, to know that your tefillos are not just for you, but they're for all Klal Yisrael. That's the message we have to do. And I bless us all that when we come to prayer and come to formal prayer after whatever preparation we have, we recognize those two things. We recognize that God listens to us, God is the merciful Father in heaven, and that we are praying not only on behalf of ourselves, but on behalf of every single Jew in the world, our brothers and sisters. Thank you for listening. I'm going to shut off the recording.